You all seemed to really like it when I spent 20 minutes rambling about one LEGO piece that I thought was pretty cool. So today we're gonna up the ante a bit and talk about one specific color of LEGO that, again, I think is pretty dang cool. The massive variety of colors that LEGO pieces have been printed in is a massive part of what makes LEGO so fun to just, do anything with. Like, when you're a kid, it's very tempting to just throw whatever the fuck together and call it a day. But like, when you get a little bit older, maybe a bit more sophisticated, you're like, damn, I could really go for a bit of consistency right now, you know? I'm really feeling a little bit of cohesion. However, despite the massive variety of colors that LEGO has made available to us, there's no getting around the fact that not all colors are created equal in the world of LEGO. Like, some are going to be used significantly more than others, and that's just how it is. Like, if you have a build in mind that specifically uses a shit ton of trans purple pieces, you're either shit out of luck, or you're looking at a series of very regrettable purchases on Bricklink. On top of colors that LEGO doesn't use very often, there's also the issue of discontinued colors, and if you've a build in mind that uses one of them, you might be in a spot of bother. An example of this I touched on in the last video is Chrome Silver, which, despite looking very shiny and very cool, was discontinued in 2005 because of its tendency to get all scratched and fucked up, which is very unfortunate. Two other pretty notorious examples of discontinued colors would be dark grey and light grey. Now, what a lot of you might know as dark grey and light grey are actually newer colors introduced in late 2003, early 2004, called light bluish grey and dark bluish grey. The old dark grey and the old light grey were discontinued around this time because of their tendency to age very poorly. They would turn very yellow and well, not very yellow. They turned a little bit yellow and like a little bit nasty. At the time people weren't very happy about this, but it's kind of a good reason, I guess. So, yeah. However, not all discontinued colors have such clear-cut reasons. A lot of them are just discontinued for budgetary reasons, like Sand Red and Sand Purple, two fan-favorite colors, were only around for 3 and 2 years respectively, and were only printed in 49 and 20 parts respectively. Colors getting discontinued still happens today. I mean, last year there was a lot of talk about Trans Neon Orange being discontinued, which was fucking bizarre to me as someone who was really into like later Hero Factory and Generation 2 of Bionicle, because that color is everywhere there. And I have a lot of pieces in that color, but no, apparently that shit's gone now, which is fucked up. However, today I want to focus on one particular color that hasn't had such a cut and dry history with the LEGO company, and that color is teal. Okay, well, it's not always teal, because technically it's got a few names. I prefer to call it teal, but there are some other names. Okay, so if you saw this color in person, you probably would call it teal, and like, the LEGO company has referred to it as teal in the past, but if you were looking for parts in this color on Bricklink, the term you would actually want is dark turquoise, which, that's alright. Dark turquoise sounds pretty fucking cool. It sounds like a really shitty supervillain name. But yeah, it is pretty cool. What's significantly less cool is the name that LEGO uses for this color internally, which is bright bluish green. Which, like, just call it teal. That's fucking weird. Like, that's like calling orange bright yellowish red or some shit. Like, that's just goofy. Moving on to the history of this color, teal would make its first appearance in a LEGO set in 1998. And the LEGO sets that it made its first appearances in were pretty fucking weird, to say the least. The vast majority of teal parts in 1998 featured in these weird LEGO Technic sets, which were primarily under this weird competition sub-theme of LEGO. It was very strange. You would typically have two robots that could beat the shit out of each other, and they were piloted by these very uncanny valley weird looking figures. Like, they sort of resemble minifigs, but like not really. If anything, they kind of remind me of the Jack Stone minifigures. Yeah, this was a bit weird. I'm not trying to be mean, but you can tell this is from that phase, when LEGO was not doing so hot financially, and we're kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what would stick. Just because of the nature of these sets, the teal LEGO parts that we saw in 1998 weren't super applicable to more traditional LEGO builds. The closest thing we had to like more traditional bricks were a 2x2 tile and this 1x2 brick which featured an axle hole. Not super versatile, but you know, it's a start. Also, one of the most bizarre pieces to come out of this year is the Cybermaster unit. An absolute massive fuck off thing that was a part of this absolutely bizarre set called the Cybermaster. He's a bit of a spooky looking fella, but this is kind of like a precursor to Mindstorms. Like, they were programmable and you could make them go around and do things and control them from the computer with this weird software. The technology for 1998 is pretty impressive, I guess, and it's an interesting look into LEGO's history, but again, you can kinda tell this is from a time when LEGO was throwing stuff at the wall. However, while Teal may have been introduced in 1998, I think 1999 is when you could get a real feel of LEGO's zeal for Teal. Teal continued to make appearances in LEGO Technic, getting some new parts and appearing in some new sub-themes, including one very notable one which I'll touch on in a bit. But I think Teal really found its footing in one of its most iconic appearances, that being Rock Raiders. I don't think I gave Rock Raiders enough credit in my first LEGO video. Like, I don't own any of the sets, and at heart I am a Power Miners person, but man, Rock Raiders is pretty fucking tight. Also, I cannot stress this enough, a massive factor in my appreciation for Rock Raiders is RR Slugger. I cannot recommend RR Slugger's videos enough. They are some of the best LEGO videos I've ever seen. They are just an absolute treat to watch. If you have any interest at all in Rock Raiders or just classic LEGO in general, I cannot recommend checking out their channel enough. Their enthusiasm for Rock Raiders is just absolutely infectious. They've really gone above and beyond when it comes to Rock Raiders as well. Like, on top of reviewing the initial sets, they've also covered the alternate models, and they've brought models that were exclusive to the Rock Raiders game, like, to life, and that's so awesome to see. I really can't recommend their stuff enough. It's absolutely brilliant. But yeah, Rock Raiders is pretty fucking cool. And with a pretty fucking cool theme comes a pretty fucking cool color scheme, being the teal and yellow color scheme that so many people know Rock Raiders for. Now, funnily enough, despite how often people associate Teal LEGO with Rock Raiders, it's not quite as prominent as you might expect. Rock Raiders did introduce plenty of Teal parts, but overall it doesn't feature as many as you might expect. And like, the parts that are there are generally in quite limited quantities. For example, Rock Raiders did introduce the basic 2x2 brick in Teal, but it's only included in the granite grinder, and that set only comes with a single one of that piece. And speaking of only coming with a single piece, one Rock Raiders set in particular, the Rapid Rider, only comes with one Teal part, being this 2x3 slope with a admittedly very nice print on it. I can definitely understand people not liking this that much, but personally I think it's kind of sick. Like, Rock Raiders' decision to focus more on grey and have teal and yellow sort of be accent colors really gives the theme more of a gritty industrial vibe that I really fuck with. Like, think about it, if you were making underground mining vehicles, especially those that are intended to be used on fucking uncharted planets in outer space, yet the paint job wouldn't be your top priority. So like, this kind of really works for me. I like it a lot. Funnily enough, one Power Miners set that I think kind of has a similar vibe would be the this shit barely fits, would be the Titanium Command Rig. I feel like compared to other Power Miners sets, it doesn't feature lime as prominently. There's a lot more grey and black in here, especially in, I am going to drop this, especially in the tower configuration where you can see all this grey in there. This set's pretty badass, I like this a lot. Also, it's kind of difficult to bring up Teal in Rock Raiders and not touch on Chief. Chief is a bit of an elephant in the room when it comes to Rock Raiders. He's a very, very cool figure. He's the leader of the Rock Raiders team, and as you can see, he's got a teal prosthetic arm, which looks really fucking cool. Unfortunately, despite how cool he was, getting your hands on Chief was pretty fucking difficult at the time, and it's only become harder as the years go by. Across Rock Raiders' 8 retail sets and 4 promotional sets in collaboration with Japanese candy company Kabaya, Chief doesn't appear in a single one. Yeah, not even the set called Rock Raiders Crew, which, like, exists so you can get the whole fucking Rock Raiders crew, except the leader. No, yeah, nice one. Yeah, we appreciate that. Apparently there were plans for Chief to be packaged with the Rock Raiders video game, but it just never ended up happening, and instead, Chief was only released on his own in 2000 as a part of this weird mini Heroes collection thing that LEGO did. And thanks to that, Chief fetches absolutely absurd prices on the aftermarket, and it's very, very unfortunate.
Take care down there, Rock Raider.
Unfortunately, thanks to all this, Chief is generally known less for just being a really fucking cool minifigure, and more for just being a massive pain in the ass for a lot of Rock Raiders fans. You do really hate to see it, but he is at the very least a pretty fucking cool figure. Now for the Bionicle fans out there, 1999, 2000, and 2001 gave us some pretty cool shit to work with when it comes to Teal. Well, for the most part. 1999 gave us Slizzers, 2000 gave us Robo Riders, and obviously 2001 gave us Bionicle, and each of those themes introduced some pretty usable parts in Teal. Although out of the three, Robo Riders is definitely the outlier. We didn't get too much cool Teal shit, although we did get katanas in Teal with Swamp, which, yeah, that's kind of funny. That's pretty neat. Also, I'm fully aware that Slizzers were called Throwbots in the US, but unfortunately, Throwbots is a shit stupid name that sucks. Like, they're robots that throw stuff, and that's the best you could come up with? Like fucking good job, guys. That's like if Bionicles were called Mask Bots, or Gearbots. Like come on. Slizzers is tight. That's a cool ass name. There were two Slizzers released that featured Teal parts, both in 1999, those being Turbo and Amazon. Both of them featured this headpiece in Teal, which is pretty handy, it's a nice little piece, while Turbo featured a disc throwing arm in Teal, alongside 4 of this piece, which is a piece I'm a massive fan of, I like this one quite a lot, and 2 of this pin piece, which features an axle hole. Amazon, on the other hand, featured this gear piece in Teal, alongside 2 of this piece, which I think most people would recognize as a Toa Mata hand, and lastly, but probably most importantly, 5 of this piece, which most people would be familiar with from Bionicle. If you're a Bionicle fan looking to make a Teal mock, this is something you would really want a lot of, I can imagine. In 2001, we would also see the release of 2 Bionicle sets that featured Teal parts, and on top of giving us some neat new Teal pieces, we'd also get 2 Kanohi masks in Teal, which is very nice to have. The Kongu Muktoran gave us a Teal Miru, and the Tarakava gave us a Teal Kakama. Unfortunately, the only other Teal pieces that come with Kongu are these Muktoran foot pieces, which have pretty limited uses, but the Tarakava gave us some pretty cool shit. We got these 1x15 Technic beams, we got these neat little Technic panels, and arguably most notably, we get these Bionicle foot pieces in Teal. 2 of them in fact, which is very cool to get. Unfortunately, if you're a Bionicle fan who just happens to fucking love Teal, this is kind of it. There's not too much in the way of Bionicle-esque pieces after this. So you've a pretty limited pool of parts to pick from. Now on one hand this is pretty unfortunate, but on the other hand, this just makes the Teal mocks that do exist even more impressive. Bionicle mocks that heavily feature Teal are some of the most impressive mocks that I've seen, because they really showcase a builder's ability to make the most out of what they have, and there is some really cool shit out there. You gotta respect it for sure, you love to see it. Now, unfortunately, after 2001, things took a bit of a turn for Teal. Throughout 2002 to 2005, it was mostly relegated to Belleville sets, these variety tubs, and weirdly enough, LEGO Duplo of all things. Because of this, from 2002 to 2005, we really didn't get that much in the way of useful Teal parts, with a few exceptions like this 1x2 tile in 2002, and this 4x4 plate in 2004. Other than that, Teal fans didn't have that much to work with here. And after 2005, things got even worse as there were no Teal parts produced in 2006 or 2007. And after that is where things took a bit of a nasty turn for Teal. This is LEGO designer Mark Stafford. You might not be familiar with him, but you really should be because he is one incredibly talented and extremely fucking cool dude. Mark still works with the LEGO company today, but a lot of people associate Mark's work with this like golden era of LEGO from the late 2000s to the early 2010s, where they were pumping out original theme after original theme, and they were just all fucking bangers. LEGO Agents, Space Police 3, Atlantis, Alien Conquest, even Ninjago. Mark Stafford played a role in designing sets for all of these themes, and he did a great fucking job. Mark is also responsible for a lot of cool shit from some of my personal favourite LEGO themes as well. He designed one of the absolute sickest Mars mission sets, and wouldn't you know it, he did quite a lot for Power Miners as well. He's responsible for the Cave Crusher, which is a set that, admittedly when I first saw it I wasn't too big on, but after having recently built it on stream, I have warmed up to it a lot. Do you want to see what this function is? He also designed what holds up as my personal favourite Power Miners set, which is the Boulder Blaster. I think this shit looks amazing. I think this is absolutely the most aesthetically pleasing Power Miners set. He did a phenomenal job. However, before the days of Miners and Mars, Mark Stafford started out designing sets for the fan favourite theme Exoforce, and he did a great job there, but while designing one set in particular, the Dark Panther, LEGO approached him with a bit of a tricky decision. See, while Mark Stafford designed the Dark Panther, the primary colour of the set had to be one of 4 options that had been laid out by the LEGO company. The first 2 were either red or orange, which were never really considered, so we'll pretty much be ignoring them, but the last 2 options were teal and purple. So it was down to Mark to decide whether the set would primarily feature teal or purple. However, the LEGO company added a bit of weight to this decision by outlining that whichever colour Mark didn't pick would be cut from production. All of a sudden, the fate of 2 fan favourite colours lay in Mark Stafford's hands. There was no option to save both of these colours. If Mark picked red or orange, both teal and purple would be cut from production, so that was pretty much off the table. All Mark could do was pick the colour that he felt was best and watch the other one be cut. And that brings us to 2008, where this Dark Panther hit store shelves. So this would be the part where I tell you about the triumphant return of Teal in 2018 in a very dramatic fashion, but unfortunately the LEGO company kind of fumbled any potential for dramatic storytelling here, because while we didn't receive any new Teal LEGO bricks for over a decade, they technically produced some Teal stuff that I have to talk about. See, in 2015 and 2017, LEGO did produce some stuff in Teal, specifically these fabric clothing pieces for minifigures. In 2015, we got this skirt piece, which was for an Edna Krabappel minifigure of all things, and in 2017 we got this cape piece for Anna in a LEGO Frozen set. But yeah, Teal came back for real in 2018. Being heavily featured in set 10260 Downtown Diner. This set was a big deal and it proudly featured Teal front and center, giving us a lot of new Teal parts as well. Now from here on out, there's really no point in getting into specifics, because when Teal came back, it didn't just like sneak its way into a couple sets here and there like a nice little Easter egg. No, Teal came back in a big way. It's like a staple of LEGO now. It's fucking everywhere. The vast majority of pieces have been produced since 2018, appearing prominently in themes like Friends, Creator, Ninjago, Monkey Kid, and even Minecraft, where it's been used to represent the Warped Forest, and, pretty soon, the Deep Dark. Look at his funny little ears. That's nice. There are some little specific things I'd like to touch on real quick though. See, it was around this time that LEGO started to include brick separators in some of their larger sets, and in 2019, we got a Teal brick separator, which I greatly appreciate because it's thanks to this that I own my only Teal LEGO piece. Yeah, this is all I got, and I'm here making a video on it. Anti-a-fucking fraud. And lastly, in 2020, we got something that really just feels like a celebration of Teal. Like Teal has fully been welcomed back. Exclusive to LEGO VIP members on their online store, you could get a LEGO set of a buildable 2x4 Teal brick, which is just so sweet. You really do love to see it. Also in 2021, there was like a Teal Lego brick minifigure, but that's nowhere near as cool in my opinion, and it had an even more limited release, so like I don't really care. But yeah, that is the history of Teal Lego. It's surprisingly interesting compared to a lot of other colors, which usually just like show up and stay, show up and get replaced by a similar color, or show up and then get discontinued. Before we finish up though, there was apparently one kind of interesting brick that got printed in Teal in 2020. I'd just like to take a quick little look. I forget what it was. It's something like, You know what? On second thought, I think Teal fucking sucks, actually.